Welcome to Canadian Justice. I'm Christine Van Gyn, and today we're talking about a CRA attack on a decades old charity. The Jewish National Fund raises money to plant trees, build water reservoirs, parks, and social infrastructure in Israel. Money raised by the JNF helps at risk youth, victims of domestic violence, special needs children, and veterans. Since October 7th, the work of the JNF has been even more important. But on August 10th, the Canadian Revenue Agency revoked the charitable status of this nearly 100-year-old organization. The JNF has been engaging with the CRA to find a mutually acceptable agreement for the charity to continue its work, but they were blindsided by this revocation, and they are now taking the CRA to court. Here today to talk about the case is Lance Davis, the CEO of the Jewish National Fund Canada. Lance, thank you so much for joining me today. I want to start about asking you what the charitable status actually means for the ability of your organization to function. How important is it, and what impact does a sudden revocation have on your work?
Christine, thank you for having me on your program and expressing interest in the topic. Having a charitable status for a charity is vitally important and enables us to provide charitable receipts to our donors. So without that ability, it's people can certainly make contributions, but they don't receive a charitable receipt, which is important to many donors. And more importantly, being revoked is a black stain on the charity's good name. We've been functioning in Canada for more than 100 years. We were incorporated more formally in 1967. So for decades, we've been operating in this manner. And so it's really, in our opinion, shocking that we weren't able to find an off-ramp for a decades old charity that has more than 100,000 supporters from coast to coast.
Maybe you can tell me a little bit about the work that your charity actually does so that our viewers can understand. And
Yeah.
I know that that work has become even more important since
Right,
the Hamas terrorist attack on October 7th. So, and I
right.
know given that the people of Israel are currently under tremendous pressure, where there's psychological pressure, but also physical danger from Iran, Hezbollah, Hamas, that requires actual physical infrastructure that the JNF helps to build. So, what can you tell
Yeah.
me about the work generally and about the post October 7th work?
Sure. So simply put, JNF Canada builds the foundations for Israel's future. And so that means we work with vulnerable populations from all corners of the country to enhance and enrich their lives. We work with all populations, and it might be a women's shelter. It could be a resilience center. It could be a mental health center. There's a whole host of projects that are vitally important to the quality of people's lives. And wherever there's a need, that's where we try to fill a gap. And certainly since October 7th, the needs have skyrocketed. It's exponential growth. The country's been torn apart. So in the South and the North, the needs are beyond multi billions of dollars. So certainly JNF Canada is not going to be able to contribute in that level. But for the tens of millions of dollars that we could raise to help Israelis of all walks of life get through this horrific tragedy, now we're handcuffed because we can't go out and fundraise and provide charitable receipts to our donors. So, in terms of the timing, when Israel needs help from the diaspora as much as possible, at this stage, JNF Canada can't be for them in the way that we ought to be.
So we've only got a minute left in this segment. I know that the fight sort of relates to the JNF's charitable objective, which you need to provide to the CRA. Tell me really briefly what that fight is in less than a minute.
Yes. So a charitable object, as you said, is the foundational document for why a charity exists. And so we've been operating under the same charitable object since 1967. And so it's fine for the CRA to say we want to change it. It's not up to date or it's not as modern as it should be. No problem. We provided CRA 10 different objects to say if this one's not satisfactory anymore, after 6 decades, it's not fine. And they didn't reply to us to say that even one of those additional objects were
Mm,
satisfactory. It really seemed to us that they didn't want to engage. And after calling upon the CRA to
right.
engage with us more than 10 times, they failed to do so. And even worse,
Really
they
strange.
engaged with the detractors of JNF.
Let's go to commercial break and then we'll continue that when we're back.